It's Monday and we're back in the home studio. We're looking forward to having a great show. Stick around.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman here. I'm so excited to see you today on No Vacancy Live. That's right, we're back in our home studio after an incredible 2 weeks on the road. This past week, of course, you were in Dallas at a Ho, and I hope you checked out all of those live shows. We had Red Roof. We had a show focused on how to empower vendors and suppliers out there to be successful in this new environment. We did an incredible Friday night audit special Wednesday edition sponsored by our incredible friends over at Ideas, and had lots of laughs and good times. What an incredible show after show after show we had last week. And speaking of that, guys, I want to be sure everybody remembers to remember our friends over at Eco Waste Tech Solutions. Sorry, guys. Producer Suzanne's not here right now, and I got to do this all on my own. Eco Tech Waste, you know these people over there, right? Because events are coming back, and we're going to be talking about how important events are coming back. In fact, I believe they're up over 40% July over July. How amazing is that? And instead of having those plastic garbage cans that you need to clear out, that you need to waste labor expenses on, why not just get some of these? They've already been recycled. So you know you're helping the environment. You just throw these bad boys out. You don't have to worry about all that extra expense. For God's sakes, you're short-staffed. You don't need to be wasting your time. Now you can do 2-for-1 deal. Help the environment. Help yourself. Help the bottom line. Help solve problems. Focus on all of that kind of good stuff. All right, everybody. Thank you again for being here today. Hey, Daniel, how you doing, man? Good to see everybody. All right, let's bring into the show our guest for today, Mr. Mark Ricketts. And Mark, of course, you might know him as our friend from over at McNeill Hotel Company, where you serve as president and COO. How are you, sir?
Great. Glad to have you.
Hey, great to see you here today, sir. So I have no idea where Anthony is. He seems to have disappeared into the ether. Mark, if I got to be honest with you, I think he's intimidated. I think he's a little bit scared, not just of me, but of you as well, because you're a pretty scary guy from what I've seen. Just kidding.
Yeah.
At all. So how have you been, my friend?
Doing great. We're getting ready to open up a hotel on Thursday, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. And that, of course, is going to be in Manhattan, Kansas, a Courtyard. What's it like opening up right now? Do you feel good that you didn't open a year ago? You feel anxious that you're opening up now? What's the general tone and tenor?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, we were supposed to open up in the middle of July, and then with all the supply chain, mix-ups, and we had to push it back until August the 12th. The good thing is that we're going to open up in Parents' Weekend, so we should, in a day or two, fill up.
That's awesome.
Which is great.
Yeah. Now, these guys over at McNeill, they have a great focus on university hotels, but we're not going to talk about that quite yet, because I want to talk about some of the some other information that we're seeing out there. According to Nolan, they reported, Mark, that U.S. meetings and events volume growth was 42.1% for July of 2021. I was actually wrong. That's month over month, man. From June 2021 to July 2021, with the average number of attendees per event being 64 compared to 57 in July of 2019. And the average space used is up from 2003 square feet in 2019 of this month to 2,461. And the top 5 growth markets were Boston, Chicago, Minneapolis, Orlando, and Washington, D.C. I think the natural question to ask you, sir, is how are you seeing the events market in your hotels, with the understanding that you focus a lot on university properties, and it might be a little bit different with those types of
hotels? I mean, we have a lot of select service, but, we are seeing, weddings coming back. We're seeing, smaller groups. We're trying to be, flexible, having the 6 feet apart. But, for the most part, we've seen a lot of, family reunions, particular weddings, smaller groups. So, we've been excited, and it looks like it's going to continue into the fall. So
that's really good. What makes you have that particular sentiment? Why are you feeling that good?
Well, I mean, we haven't seen any cancellations so far yet. So, there's still weddings. Obviously, last year when you were in the summer, everybody pushed it back until 2021. And now this year, we're seeing weddings, July, August, September, October, because, there's just so pushed back. So we feel good about that. And, with a lot of college markets, we're in the SEC and the Big 12 and the university have said, hey, we're opening it up 100%. So
that's really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Especially since, those football games, the homecoming weekends, all of that stuff is absolutely essential to your type of business. And I want to talk more about that particular specialty. But the first thing I want to do is take a little look at what's going on right now with labor statistics. According to our friends over at Hotel Effectiveness and their Hotel Labor Recovery Index, they're saying that labor has been recovering pretty decently over time, going from a low of 28.2% in April 2020 to now in July of 2021, 68.6%. Understanding this is in aggregate across the overall industry. How are you seeing your percent of labor, et cetera, et cetera?
It's been up and down. It's been very inconsistent. Like 2 weeks ago, we had 2 hotels that were in North Mississippi, and we had to cap occupancy at 50% at one and 70% at another because we just didn't have anybody show up, for the weekends. And, it's been a little, hard, and it's just kind of maddening because, we weren't expecting that, for these 2 hotels, and all of a sudden, nobody shows up, and you're pushing it back, and to Monday, and for the most part, Monday everybody shows up, but we've had a hotel, a Homewood Suites in Carmel, that we do great on the weekends, but we've had to cap on Monday, Tuesday, because we can't get people to work, during the week. So it's very inconsistent, kind of maddening at times, and obviously, the first 3 months, when this was, staffing going behind, we had our GMs, our AGMs, director of sales, cleaning rooms, working the laundry, working the desk. Jesus. And, we were a little worried that, people were going to get burned out. So what we did is we hired task force so that, we could give the GM or an AGM or a salesperson off, and we didn't charge them, their vacation time, because we just felt that was the right thing to do. Let them re-energize, recommit, spend a week. And, for the most part, it's worked really, really well. So
that is so essential there, Mark, because all of these professionals that have hung in there for so long are feeling that burnout in such a deep way. It's got to be just bone-chilling, exhausting. Because I've been speaking to a lot of CEOs and presidents and CEOs, such as yourself,
right?
At Alice, while I was at AHOA, and that seems to be the same thematic right there. The executives are tired, the line level workers are tired, everyone's tired. And while you see 68-point-something% of folks have come back to the business, we really could be at near 100% capacity right now if that workforce was there, right?
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we've got to be creative because, a lot of the schools were out, and, if you've got a 9 or a 10-year-old, you're not going into the office to work because, the 9 and 10-year-olds are going to, just run amok, throughout there. So we're trying to, figure out, could you work overnight in the laundry? Could you, we're in a bunch of college towns. So maybe, it's 3 or 4 times the amount of associates that we have because, maybe it's 5 to 10. maybe it's 4 to 9.
Right.
And I think we've always got, we're always in that mantra of 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. And we just have to get out of it,
That's a really great point, Mark. And I think one of these things that everybody is thinking about in hospitality is reevaluating their lives as they go forward. I heard it from all of the executive people back at the Hunter Conference and again at AHOA and again at Alice. It's the same thing over and over again. And what frustrates me, Mark, and you can or don't have to respond to this, and feel free, but I have to just complain for a second about this attitude that I'm seeing out there amongst certain ownership groups, the attitude of that they are casting blame only on people for not wanting to come back to work. Whether or not that is the reality, if you're going to be casting blame on people for not working, you're blaming, you're not problem solving. You're not coming up with unique solutions in order to move everybody ahead in a way that we could all make money together, meaning the associates and the owners, while creating a great guest experience. Mark, what I love is that you're thinking of redoing everything with these flexible hours, reinventing stuff, giving people the opportunity to play a little bit by more of their rules so you can make sure that everybody's satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be creative. And, one of the things that we started back during the pandemic is, we started a manager and trainee program. Well, we've always kind of had it, but, I think it's important because, a lot of people just say, I'm going to work the front desk for 6 months and then I'll go to I'll go to my next job, or I'm going to work in the breakfast room.
Right.
Well, hospitality is a career. I mean, I was able to start off as a van driver and a bellman and, all of a sudden move up, to president and COO. So, there is.
I like how you say all of a sudden, like they plucked you out of that, like you didn't work hard for a couple of decades over there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just kind of took it easy.
Yeah. What did you do over at Archon back in the day?
Yeah, Philip McNeill and I, had with Equity Ends, and Philip and his father started that company, and we were taken private by Archon, and it was 2007 late, and then the recession hit, so Goldman had to end up holding it a little bit longer, but we had compiled like 330 hotels. So I didn't have the clout that Philip did. So I had to move to Dallas back in 2008 after my oldest son graduated from high school. But, so we've been here ever since. But, we had 330 hotels. We probably had 20, 21 management companies that managed for us.
Right.
And, if you and I, are peers, I'm not going to tell you everything that I'm doing.
Right.
But, that was the great learning experience is as an ownership group, the different management companies would show you kind of behind the curtains. And, you learned a lot. So, as Philip and I started back in 2015, and, we put a lot of, tactics or, good strategies, from the different companies. And, that was, kind of looking behind the curtain and finding a lot of good things, because for the most part, we had great companies that ran our hotels, and, that's what with Equity Ends, we would reach out and say, okay, we'll buy those hotels, but you can manage it for them. Right. So, we had a lot of groups that, would come to the table. So, that was fantastic. So
that's pretty awesome. So most important question of the day, best place for brisket in Dallas?
I would say 1050 barbecue. It's in Richardson. Mm-hmm. You kind of walk in and, you've got all the different meats and you just kind of point to it and say, I want that, I want that. Probably Hard 8 is a close second. Yeah.
The first person to mention Hard 8. I wanted to go there last week when I was in Ahoa, but it was like something like 17 miles away to the closest one, and I couldn't rationalize because Ubers are costing so much money. The expense of going back and forth just to get a piece of brisket.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. But both of them, are fantastic in terms of beef brisket. So when we moved to Dallas, so we were going to go out, and we had we went to this barbecue place, and we show up on a Saturday night. It's our second day there, and they came out and said, we serve Memphis style barbecue. Well, I just moved from Memphis, and I was hoping that, we were going to get some beef brisket, but
as opposed to ribs, right?
No, not so much.
That's too funny. All right. Taking a look back at these labor recovery index, U.S. hotels typically have about 8.3 million people. Now, to be fair, pre-pandemic, there were 1 million job slots open, but over 1.8 million jobs have come back this year alone, but 2.6 million jobs still to go. And estimate there's about 500 to 750,000 open with unfulfilled jobs in the industry today. That feel about right to you based on what you're seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, early in the recovery, since about March, we would reach out to staffing companies, and they were just like, we don't have anybody, and so, it's one of those things that, we've reached out and cultivated a lot of good working conditions with them. And, we tried a national group, and, we have hotels like in Boise, Idaho, or Twin Falls, and they just couldn't find people there. So, we had to go locally, to find somebody. But those numbers seem, right. And, it like I said, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had to cap occupancy because you just couldn't get anybody to come in.
I still can't believe it that the hotel industry is now suffering in a way that nobody ever would have predicted. You can sell rooms, but you can't sell rooms. What an absolute tragedy that is. The other big thing that people are stressing out about is the difficulty of finding and keeping labor. Annualized turnover rates, according to our friends at Hotel Effectiveness, have almost doubled or more than doubled, depending on how you're looking at these charts. Are you feeling the same issues out over there, particularly?
Yeah, I mean, you'll all of a sudden have 4 or 5 people, and you'll have them for 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden, they'll just walk out and, go to some other place. And, what we're trying to do is, show recognition. Obviously, we just had a break room contest, and we put all of our hotels in a break room, and, you had sofas in there, you had, housekeeping carts. So what we, did, and our hotel in the Hampton Inn and Suites in West Jordan, Utah, just won it. But we challenged everybody to make this a kind of a place of refuge. And if you want to go to the break room, it shouldn't just be chock full of furniture, all those other stuff. So we did a really great job on trying to do that, which was important because, if you've only got 15 or 20 minutes, you just want to take a break, relax, kind of go from there. So, it was great, just to see a lot of the break room transformations, because I got to be honest, there were some that were really bad, and, it turned around, and that was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Your interesting philosophies, and hopefully with all that, the people in college that want to work, you are focusing strongly on college markets. In fact, you've got nearly 24 hotels in university markets across the country. Pretty interesting strategy. I always started to hear about that strategy from different companies about 10 years ago, but from what I heard, it makes so much sense logically, but it's share what that is, why you feel that is important.
Yeah, I mean, we like to, look at multiple demand generators. Obviously, you've got college, and in the old days, my parents took me to college and just dropped me off and said,
Right.
yeah, go. Whereas now it's a full day weekend, and they stretch it over 3 and 4 weeks.
Mhm.
Obviously, football is huge, but in a lot of the markets like Manhattan, Kansas, there's just they're building this national bio and agro defense facility, which moved from Long Island, New York, and is going to open in the fall of 2020.
Rub it in. I'm from Long Island.
Well, but it's the little apple. So, but and it's those things like Auburn. We have a Kia plant that's like 15 miles away.
Right.
So, you just don't want to, have a one horse town, and, all of a sudden that horse goes out, and you've got to replace it. So, we've really liked, one of the first hotels we built was a Home 2 Suites in Waco, and it was close to Baylor University. Well, Philip and I had no idea that Chip and Joanna Gaines, with Magnolia were even there. Right. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, I mean, Waco was the highest occupancy state in Texas, and we were just getting, tons and tons from Magnolia. And, they were, at the time, they were going to have their last show. They had a surprise baby, and, it was just, just everything coming together. But, it continues to go, and, we like those kind of, demand generators. We're in Morgantown, West Virginia. We're set across from the football stadium, where we've got a Town Place Suites in Auburn, and Auburn has an on-site facility, but we're probably the closest to that. And, it's been amazing.
Right. You have a lot of opportunities for some really great peak revenue days between moving kids in and out of school, beginning and end of semester, all of those home games, all sorts of other university business drivers that are there. So that particular market and that particular focus makes a whole lot of sense. It's why you see competing companies out there, such as Graduate Hotels, focusing almost fully on those particular types of concepts.
Yeah, and they've done well. I mean, Graduate, has an outstanding name, and they focus on that. So, we're competing, in a couple places with them, but they realize, hey, this is a great opportunity, and they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, they certainly have. So our friend at the show, Colleen, says they're opening the border. Yes, the border to Canada is open, as is Mexico, which is why I'll be in Mexico next week. And proud to say that I just signed a deal to be speaking at the Alberta Hotel Lodging Association's annual conference up in Edmonton, Canada on September 21st. I'm going to be doing a whole week of shows from the Alberta province in that week, starting September 20th. So, Mark, it's exciting that things, even though the numbers of COVID are going up, things are continuing to open up, and we really seem to be getting back to life as usual. Are you starting to feel that, not just at your hotels, but in the way you do your business? I know you're going to an event this week.
Yeah, we're attending the Hotel Data Conference, and the flip side of it is that we're going to have to wear a mask, and obviously you and I were at Alice, and we had to wear masks indoors, but if you walked outside of Alice on the, patio,
Where everyone hangs out anyway, all the time.
Exactly. It was a great place. And, so.
Wait, hold on one second. Colleen, yes, Mexico was open. I did not mean to imply that it just opened. Sorry about that. Please continue, Mark.
No, I mean, but, I think it is. And, obviously we live in Dallas, and, the Texas governor has, opposed any mask mandate, here. But, so it is going back. I mean, and you're seeing just more and more, places open, not talking about religion, but, I'm Catholic, and, next week, the diocese opened up all the churches. So, currently you have, like one or two pews in between, but now it's all open. So, it's really good to see. And, I think that, I've heard various things on the Delta, variant, but, like I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but in UK and India, it kind of passed quickly. Is that right?
It did. Well, I don't know if I would use the word quickly.
Right.
Numbers went up, and then it seems to drop, fortunately, very precipitously. So that's where I would use the word quickly for. So I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's just so virulent that it goes through the population so fast that then everyone who's going to get it is going to get it, and it's going to drop real quick.
Sure.
Maybe. I'm not a medical professional. I don't know. I don't even play one on TV, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But fortunately, Colleen has excused me for my horrible misstatement over there. Yeah, over 20,000 cases in Florida in a single day. I got to be honest with you guys. I came back from an event in Florida right at the top of July, sick as all heck. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe I had this Delta variant back then, and now I'm over it. I just don't know. I didn't get the test. I didn't bother to get the test. So I'm wondering how many cases that people have that are just not being recorded at all. But Mark, on the positive side, yesterday, 2.168 million people went through TSA compared to 2019 of 2.64 million. That's about less than 500,000 person difference. The old and the new numbers are starting to get much closer together. I think that feels pretty good for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I mean, you even in July, you started to see, hotel occupancy and ADR numbers, get extremely close to 2019. And, there's been two schools of thought that after Labor Day, you may not see business travel as much. And if you're going back to school, what does that look like? But the numbers are, been very, very positive. And I think that, we're starting to allow, people, traveling from, other countries to, to come in. And I think you have to still test, but
yes,
it's a positive. So,
it sure is, except when you get those test results. You don't want to see a positive there. All right, friend of the show, Paul is asking, besides that break room idea, what are some other things that McNeill is doing to keep good employees once you have them? And I want to talk a little bit about what you're seeing on the development side and partnering with owners. So what are you doing to encourage and make people feel loved in the workplace so they stick around?
Yeah, I mean, way back when we started, it was the very first Friday of the pandemic. And we just said, hey, we're going to have a sales call and we'll get all of our salespeople on the line.
Right.
Well, it's become a staple of our company because, we just didn't let the hotels that were doing well. We would reach out and kind of rotate through 3 or 4, hotels and kind of call and, say, hey, Oregon's been closed for pretty much the whole time. but we had a director of sales, and he was doing everything, to uncover business. And it was great to hear him share, with some of the business. And, so now it's just become a staple. We start off like with 5 or 10 minutes of acknowledgement, and then, we go to e-commerce tips, and then we have sales tips, and then we have, the brand news. And, it's really just been a fantastic call. We do, guest satisfaction scores. So we brought the ops team in, and, we've been very fortunate that, a lot of our hotels have done really well, just even from a guest satisfaction point. So, that was good to see. And, it's in the afternoon. Everybody gets kind of jazzed up, to go into the weekend. And, it's not really, it's outside of peak selling time. And, last fall, we used Doug Kennedy with Kennedy Training Network,
Right.
and Kennedy, continued it into the spring, because no buildings were open. You couldn't call and just walk right in. They throw you out. So,
Yeah.
what we started doing was, Doug was really big on, sending out a video, for a minute. And, we would have the hotel teams, or we'd have the director of sales, or we'd have the general manager, on those videos.
Right.
And it was amazing because, all of a sudden you get a video and you're going to click on it to look at it. And, whereas before you were just sending everything there, and they're probably deleting it.
Right.
But, that was one of the things that we really started to do. And, we probably got 20 to 25, local corporate accounts, just because,
Wow.
we were doing that, and it was kind of outside the norm. So, props to Doug, and, outside the box thinking. So,
Right.
We've tried to do that.
Yeah, and props to everybody out there who's trying different things, because after all, that, like we've talked about 1,000 times before, we hit that great reset button. The way you did things before doesn't have to be the way you do things now, or the way that you're going to do things in the future. Don't be afraid to get out there and try new things. The worst thing that's going to happen is it won't work.
Right.
Who cares? Take a deep
Right.
breath, move on, right, Mark?
Right. No, it's exactly right. And at the, end of May of 2020, obviously, you had the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. And I sent a note out to the group and just said, we need to do something. And, it just can't be words on a paper. And we created the Diversity and Inclusivity Council. And it was really kind of cool because at the time, June, July, we still had some hotels that weren't doing well.
Right.
But, everybody, could join, participate, and we came up with a diversity pin. We came up with a diversity video, and it was, we're better together. And then, we really focused on voting, in the last election. And it was kind of cool because we had 4 or 5 people, and I'm talking my age, late 50s, early 60s, that had never voted before. And it was awesome, because they were just,
Right. They
strutting around going, I've never voted before. And this is,
Wow.
this is awesome, and it's one of those things that, one vote does make a difference,
Right.
And, we would pick them up, they would come to, to the hotel, and we would take them, to a voting booth. And, I really think that was important. And, we way back in September, October, we were kind of ahead of the curve, and, the council voted on Juneteenth, as a holiday. And, we rolled it into 2021, and, now we've hired a third party to kind of, rev up the group, and it's called What We Do Events. And, she's really, 2 months ago, we had a slang fest term, and I got to be honest, I didn't know, 7 of the 10 words on.
Really?
Yeah.
60-ish-year-old white guy is not familiar with the word on the street these days?
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was just cool, because, it was great. And, it was just that extra boost, so now we put in bylaws, we put in charters,
Amazing.
We put out a calendar. And last year we did do a calendar, but, it was only like 4 or 5, a month. And, now we've got like 20, 25. And, the other thing is that, we were talking about, we budget, every month for an associate celebration.
That's great.
Well, the conversation was, hey, let's do different ethnic foods, to give people a taste of, what they may be missing. And, it's really gone, the last 2 or 3 months,
Right.
It's really, kind of played out to be a great thing. So
That's fantastic. I love when a company doesn't just preach diversity, but actually takes the steps to make it happen while showing the employees or your staff members or cast members, or whatever you want to call them, really feel engaged. And that Juneteenth thing and helping people get to the voting booth and making sure they're registered, that really makes a difference, in my humble opinion, in how people feel about the company that's paying the salaries.
Yeah, and I mean, we in addition, we kind of gave 2 floating holidays that, maybe it wasn't as significant as Juneteenth, but, somebody, could say, hey, I want to take this day off, or I want to take, another day off. So, we just threw out, 2 floating holidays, and it's really, meant a lot to, the team members. And, we still have a long way to go. I mean, we're definitely not perfect, but, I think, we had, 2 town halls, and, it was awkward. I mean, because they were asking questions that I couldn't answer, but I needed to,
Right.
And,
we're going to. And now you can figure out answers to those questions, because you're in a world where you don't know what you don't know. You have a particular perception, and unless you have these open town halls and forums, you're not going to really find the truth. And the one thing that you said to me that I think says volumes about your character and where you bring the company is that you have a long way to go. Right? That's acknowledging at least you're doing something. So many folks out there put their head in the sand. They pretend these issues simply don't exist. And by you acknowledging and already have done so much compared to some other companies, that I think that's it's a really great testament to you and the entire executive team over at McNeill.
Well, I appreciate that. And, we definitely have, a long way to go, but it allows us to facilitate that dialogue. And,
right.
We have a leadership conference in late October, and it'll be in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to get up there, and, our third party company is going to be there, and our, vice president of HR. And I know that they're going to ask some hard questions, but, we need to, sit up there, take the questions, and hopefully, as you said, formulate some answers, because we may not know, the right thing to say, but, and I think that's
Mark, but that's okay. You don't have to know the right thing to say. You have to do what you're doing and be open and honest with the positive aspects of your company and the places where you could feel more inclusive within the company. So,
Yeah.
Well, so I hope you're not knocking yourself over over anything.
No, I mean, but like I said, I mean, you hear different stories because people would reach out to me, and I'm a white male.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see some of the things that took place, and
Right.
there was we have a financial analyst that works in our Plano offices. Well, she was walking around, and she's Asian American, and they were saying, way to bring the China flu, and she
Right.
came into my office, and she just broke down crying. And I mean, it's you just don't know what to say, and you can say, hey, our company's a little different, we're going to try to be open and kind of go from there. And
Mark, it's not just about the specific words to say. It's about having empathy and making people feel heard and loved in a situation like that, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, you may not have the right word to say, but you can say, hey, I get it. I understand your pain and suffering, and that's wrong. And I mean, even those type of words will resonate with a lot of associates. And
Yep. So let's move on a little bit. I would like to talk about your future investment, your growth as a company, and all of that. Now, you've seen great success in select service, for example, and extended stay seems to be a big deal.
Right.
What do you see as your strategy going forward? How are you finding deals? But I guess the question is, are more hotels swapping hands in terms of management companies these days, or have people kind of dug in and say, no, we're sticking with this now that we're getting on the other end, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I wasn't able to attend the Hunter conference, but, I think
You missed a lot of people with
the purpose
crazy
was,
hangovers,
yeah, the purpose was, select service was the way to go, especially extended stay. And, we always go through deals, and, we have our vice president of acquisition that's here in the Plano office. And, we go through a lot of deals, but, we're looking for, mid to high teen returns. And if we don't, find them, then we'll just move to the next, deal.
Right.
But, there's been a, there's been a lot of high prices, even coming out of the market. And then we were looking like in March, and we thought people will give us a 20-25% discount because it's coming out of COVID.
Right. Yep.
And we had a group that said it's 7.5% cap, and we're not moving from it.
Right.
And we just said okay, and they said we'll go find another investor, and we're like, okay.
All right. Well, so be it. You've got to make sure that you stick with what you feel is right. And if you deviate from that strategy, and I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to all companies, then you're more likely to wind up in a danger zone. So this is curious to me, because most of the time we talk about all the deals that are done, but we never speak about the deals that are not done, right? So two things. Number one, it's got to be hard to say no because you want to build the company, but the fundamentals aren't there. They're not there.
Sure.
So what kind of, how often does this happen? What percentage of deals do you have to say thanks, but no thanks, not today?
Yeah, I mean, we're fairly, I think we have a good relationship with the brokers because, after a week or two, we'll just say, we can't do this deal. And I think, instead of hanging, letting them hang on, we'll just say, hey, the numbers don't work for us, and we're going to pass on it. But it's been very some of the deals that we were talking at Alice with some of the brokers. I mean, we looked at 3 or 4 hotels, and they came back and said, we bid a certain price, and we were told by a broker that they were $2 million over that price. and it was just crazy, but I think you're seeing a lot of people that recognize the extended stay and the select service markets. So we're in the top 25 markets, but we're kind of in the suburbs because we feel like you could drive to those markets. So we're outside of Indianapolis and Carmel, we're outside of Atlanta and Peachtree Corners, kind of outside of Nashville and Green Hills. But we've kind of stayed away from urban downtown markets, because that's just really not what we've done in the past. And, I think we've always focused on, Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt. And, I think not that there's not a lot of great brands out there, but, we've just focused on those three. And,
right. It's easier for your operations to have a fewer selection of brands and be
right.
Place,
right. Exactly. So, but, there's a lot of select service that we haven't touched within, the Hilton and Marriott and, Hyatt brands. So, we've always looked at Hyatt House or, on a loft or Tempo.
I stayed in the loft last week, as a matter of fact, in Dallas. Yeah, it's still a great product after all of these years. So, Mark, last topic I want to talk about. We've just been talking about all the deals and stuff that you do, and that's because your company has mostly corporate-owned properties. So, does this changing your mind now that some of these deals are being harder? Are you thinking maybe we should pivot a little bit, add more third-party management contracts, or are you just going to dig your heels in and keep focused on what you've always done best?
No, we have 24 of the 27, that are corporate owned, but we've started to look, and the hotel brands have actually been very generous in their praise of our company. So we've had 2 or 3 companies that have reached out to us and said, hey, if we buy this hotel, would you third party manage for us? And, that we haven't acquired a deal like that, but, we're definitely open, for something like that. And, we don't want to get 20 hotels and then all of a sudden the owner sells it and, all of a sudden we have to go, guys, 20 a year going, and we've got a regional and accounting. So, I think we'd be, kind of good in the 7 to 10 third party management. But, there's a lot of great companies that do the third party, and it's
that's great. Yeah. And if you guys need any recommendations, just drop me a line over here. Mark, any final words before we let you go today, sir?
No, I think that, as you pointed out, I think we've just got to stay creative in staffing these hotels. We've got to think outside the box, I think that's the key is that, we've been in this paradigm for so long that, we've tried job fairs, we've tried retention bonuses, and some of them worked, some of them didn't. But, I think it's that creativity that's going to get us to the next level, and we've got to evolve. We just can't, stay in the business that we were 20 years ago.
Love it. Yeah. And too many people still want to do that. That's why I love your attitude, Mark. That's why you guys are big winners out there and retaining those employees and continue to move forward. Mark, hang out backstage. Let me wrap up the show. And I'd love to give you an official goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
This was a whole lot of fun. Mark is really one of the good guys out there. I've gotten to know him over the years at all of these major conferences. And for those of you who are getting back on the road, doing things, getting back to your lives and stuff like that, maybe you want to hear the audio version of our show. And that's why you got to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your shows. Come on, I could go on and on and on, list all the places, but you already know where you like to get your shows. We are there. Of course, he's Anthony Hotels, and I am at Traveling Glenn. Tomorrow, we've got another great interview. On Wednesday, we're doing a live remote from Even Hotels, where producer Dave works. That should be a great time. And on Thursday, what am I doing? Oh, we got Phil Yu, the Chief Development Officer from Radisson, coming on. On Friday, we'll be doing a live show for Friday Night Audit from the center of Showboat in a big boxing ring. Come by, say hello if you're going to the Fish concert. If anybody needs an extra ticket or two, I had some scared cat friends, so we've got some extra tickets. You want to join the party? You want to join and hang out with us on the beach in Atlantic City and listen to jams that you'll wish ended hours before they actually do? Do that. Drop me a line. Thanks, everybody. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on, and we'll see you tomorrow.